Hi everybody, welcome to Black Americana. I'm Ashley, and in today's episode, we are looking at Black Americans who have won Best New Artist at the Grammy Awards. The Grammy for Best New Artist is unique in that it is probably the only competitive Grammy that considers the intangibles of an artist. They look at how your persona and ability to hold public interest has shaped your career and might be influential in the years to come. So with each artist, we are going to look at the circumstances that played into their win and if their career lived up to the hype. So it won't be a one-size-fits-all test because we will definitely consider how each artist played the hand dealt them. Now let's clear this up because I know how some people get when Black Americans delineate ourselves. If there is a so-called Black artist that is not listed in this episode, they either are not American or they identify with some other Black ethnic group, and that is okay. No love lost. So if you're ready, keep watching. The Best New Artist statuette was first handed out in 1959. The award is for a new artist who releases, during the eligibility year, the first recording which establishes the public identity of that artist. The rules for that requirement have changed over the years, and we will break it down accordingly. Despite the immense influence of Black artists, none won the award from 1959 and throughout the 60s. It is especially shocking no artist from Motown or the blues won, considering Best New Artist winners from the UK, like the Beatles and Tom Jones, cited these acts as sources of inspiration. That finally changed in 1976 when Natalie Cole became the first Black artist to win Best New Artist during the 18th Annual Grammy Awards. Natalie came from entertainment royalty as the daughter of one of the original pop stars, Nat King Cole. Her debut album, Inseparable, delivered sophisticated soul with jazz inflections. The album sold over 1 million copies and gave us the classics Inseparable and This Will Be an Everlasting Love. In her Best New Artist class, she was up against Brazilian singer Morris Albert and group ensembles The Amazing Rhythm Aces, Rucker Brothers, and KC and the Sunshine Band. So did Natalie's career live up to its potential? Yes, but she battled to get there. Despite her privileged upbringing, she struggled with family trauma and addiction. After multiple stints in rehab, she released Unforgettable with Love in 1991, using cutting-edge engineering technology to record duets with her late father's vocals. The project went on to win Album of the Year at the Grammys in 1992, making her the first Black woman to win the honor. It is one of the greatest comeback stories in music history. For more details on this moment, check out our video, Black Women Who Won the Grammys Album of the Year. Natalie left us in 2015 at the age of 65 after a prolonged health battle. The 1970s turned on and disco was the soundtrack of the world. The dramatic fusion of funk and glamour fit right in for A Taste of Honey, a Los Angeles group founded by Janice Marie Johnson and Perry Kibble. After several lineup changes, the group would be fronted by Janice Marie on bass and Hazel Payne on guitar. Despite these instruments usually being associated with men, Janice and Hazel brought femininity to their craft. Their debut single, Boogie Oogie Oogie, reached number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and their self-titled debut album sold over 1 million copies. At the Grammys held in 1979, their nomination class included English singer Chris Rea and future music heavyweights The Cars, Elvis Costello, and Toto. A Taste of Honey's win marked the first time a Black group won in the category. So did they live up to the hype? The answer is no. Perhaps no genre association has destroyed more careers than being labeled as a disco artist. After a volatile backlash at the dawn of the 1980s, the group could not shake the stigma. They did have an uptick when they released an R&B interpretation of the Japanese classic Sukiyaki. Still, it wasn't enough and the group disbanded in 1983. Although the group's co-founder Perry Kibble passed away in 1999, Janice Marie is still performing today under the moniker A Taste of Honey. So we get to the 1980s, and the advent of MTV has totally changed how we consume music and measure star power. Although BET was founded first for Black audiences, artists and labels alike battled the MTV racial barrier. Male artists like Rick James, Ray Parker Jr., Prince, and most successfully Michael Jackson find their footing on the network, but it would take a while longer before there was a Black MTV princess. The 1985 debut of Whitney Houston changed the landscape of not only MTV, but the way female artists, of any background, were packaged and marketed to the masses. Her self-titled debut album delivered 3 #1 singles on the Billboard Hot 100 and to this day remains the best-selling female debut album in history, with over 30 million copies sold worldwide. When the Grammys were scheduled for 1986, the guaranteed win was thought to be Whitney Houston as the Best New Artist. But there was one problem. She wasn't even nominated. The Grammys deemed her ineligible because she received feature credits on other artists' albums. The backlash to the decision was intense, and the Grammys agreed to tweak the rule. We decided to include this tidbit because as the criteria for this nomination changes, Whitney's exclusion is often a reference point. If you want more insight into this, check out our video, Black Women Who Won the Grammys Album of the Year. Perhaps the first beneficiary of the Whitney Houston rule change was Jody Watley. The Soul Train alumna first became known as the female vocalist in the R&B group Shalimar. The group sang more traditional R&B and exhibited California cool. After a tumultuous split from the group, she moved to Paris and transformed her artistry. She re-emerged as an electric funk artist, singing in her lower register and rocking high fashion. Her self-titled debut album went platinum and produced 3 top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100. At the Grammys in 1988, she was up against the groups Breakfast Club, Cutting Crew, and Swing Out Sister, and the artist many thought was the favorite to win, Terrence Trent D'Arby. In a twist of irony, some argued the rule was too lax for Jody because she was a core member of an established act, not a one-off feature. Nevertheless, the win still stands as a testament to her resolve and marked a turning point for artists receiving acclaim for their reinvention. So did Jody's career reach its potential? Out of all of the artists on this list, this might be the hardest one for me to analyze. Jody has been a woman with a strong constitution. As new industry trends set in, she stuck to her own merits, and with that, her mainstream presence declined. A while back, Black Twitter had a heated debate after some fans recommended Jody be spotlighted on an episode of TV1's Unsung. Jody bristled at the suggestion and said she is not unsung. She went on to post her accomplishments, but many disagreed with her. I will say this much. Jody's contribution to music is very misunderstood. She influenced singers like T-Boz from TLC and the late Tejano singer Selena in Move, Dance, Forward with her choreography. She was also instrumental in giving Black singers a presence in the fashion world. In the late 80s, none of the R&B girls did high fashion like Jody Watley. In a time where we complain about covers, it was hard for Black singers to even get a fashion spread back then. Yet Jody was serving in Vogue, Elle, and Harper's Bazaar. So I think we can acknowledge industry politics might have stifled her follow-up projects, but there is work to be done on framing the magnitude of her career. Jody is still performing today. The music industry is filled with ironies. The people who reject you today can embrace you tomorrow, and vice versa. Tracy Chapman has lived this firsthand. She began developing her sound while she was enrolled at Tufts University. She was denied in the industry after all but one record label, Elektra, refused to sign her, and at least a dozen producers refused to work with her due to her image and music being deemed unmarketable. The producer she was able to secure for her debut album tragically passed away before she began recording. In the end, the album was built upon the demo she recorded while at Tufts, except one song. That one song was Fast Car. Upon the album's release, it was viewed as a catharsis for her generation. The self-titled LP reached #1 on the Billboard 200 and went on to sell over 20 million copies worldwide. At the Grammys in 1989, her nomination class included former Miss America Vanessa Williams, a cappella group Take 6, and singers Rick Astley and Toni Childs. Yes, you heard that correctly. There is a singer named Toni Childs. So did Tracy's career meet expectations? Yes. Her career has ebbed and flowed, but we have to remember Tracy was up against the odds. Also, Tracy does not do the traditional PR game. For parameters she set for her career, she has done well. Tracy has also helped preserve the blues. The United States is a young country, but the blues is something we can say is uniquely American and rooted in Black American music tradition. So in the interest of national identity and heritage, she has done great work. Also, her music enjoys a resurgence with each new generation, namely Luke Combs' sterling cover of Fast Car. A true mark of artistry is being able to deliver work that resonates with generation after generation. So we are going to hit the running man and head into the 90s. By this point, the Grammys accept the bitter defeat that hip-hop is not a fad. In 1989, they acknowledged the first rap category with Best Rap Performance, and DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince are the first winners, but the category is still treated like an outcast. So the emergence of Atlanta-based hip-hop ensemble Arrested Development gave hip-hop a much-needed buffer. Conscious thought is a cornerstone of hip-hop, but its dissipated melodic structure and the rise of gangsta rap made hip-hop's growing popularity a lightning rod debate. Everyone from civil rights groups to then-President George H.W. Bush was denouncing the genre. Arrested Development was made up of Black Americans who embraced Afrocentrism. Their group was founded by college students Todd Speech Thomas and Timothy Headliner Barnwell. The group developed as many Black Americans were standing in solidarity against apartheid in South Africa. By the time the group's debut album, 3 years, 5 months, and 2 days in the life of, was released, America was reeling from the Rodney King beating. The album sold over 4 million copies in the United States alone and garnered international acclaim. Their style of music, wrapped in optimism and ancestral wisdom, was considered a safe harbor during these times. Their ethos was reinforced when they were included on the Malcolm X soundtrack. The 1993 Grammys was an eclectic class for Best New Artist, with Billy Ray Cyrus, Sophie B. Hawkins, John Cicada, and teen duo Criss Cross scoring nominations. Still, it was a shock when Arrested Development walked away with the win. They became the first hip-hop act to win in a major category. It was a breakthrough for hip-hop at a perilous time. So let's get right to it. Did Arrested Development live up to the hype? The answer is no. The group had several issues. For one, the public heavily associated them with vocalist Dionne Farris, but she was never an official member of the group. She and the group shared management at the time, so she was offered a chance to sing on their debut single, Tennessee, but Dionne quickly redirected to her solo career. Also, if we be honest, Black Americans have a fluctuating interest in Afrocentrism. Some remain faithful to it, but it is often treated as a trend. By the mid-90s, Nelson Mandela was now president of South Africa, and America had gone from the thrones of the Rodney King trial to the O.J. Simpson trial. Just like that, the interest had changed. Also during this time, what we might can call lifestyle hip-hop emerged on the scene. Perhaps this could most closely be credited to Sean Combs, then known as Puff Daddy, and his Bad Boy Records. He encouraged people to luxuriate and celebrate wins. The message was, yeah, we carry weight in the streets, but ultimately, we want to pop Cristal, rock Versace, and get girls. So with this pivot in hip-hop, Arrested Development no longer had a boogeyman to market themselves against. The group has had several reunions, but none with the original lineup. No matter how short their run, Arrested Development was key in showing the versatility of hip-hop on music's most prestigious stage. The 90s saw a proliferation of labels having a signature R&B sound. Lil Face Records was amongst the most influential, and Toni Braxton was their first lady. She debuted on the scene via the Boomerang soundtrack, which seamlessly rolled into her self-titled debut album. The album produced 3 top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 and sold over 8 million copies in the United States alone. For the Grammys held in 1994, the Best New Artist nomination class included bands Belly and Blind Melon, hip-hop group Diggable Planets, and girl group SWV. In a landscape where Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Janet Jackson, and Madonna were the cornerstones of female music, Toni came in quickly and wrecked shop. Since Toni is one of the more known artists in this episode, let's just hop right to the career retrospect. Did her career live up to its potential? I am going to give a conditional yes. Yes, her sophomore album Secrets outperformed her debut, and her third album The Heat got off to a hot start, but she could have gone so much further. As many of us know, Toni had a nasty financial dispute with her label LaFace and its parent company Arista, as well as other management disputes, and we never want to negate that she has battled health issues and raised a child on the spectrum. Undoubtedly, these issues took a toll on her career, but opportunities were missed. Because the first 8 years of her career, meaning 1992 to 2000, shine so brightly, I think we don't fully realize the career malpractice that has riddled her for years. Her early discography has aged so well, and Toni still sounds and looks so good that she deservingly continues to receive accolades. But Toni has admitted herself she could have soared higher. To expand the conversation, Toni's win is also a reminder of how far R&B as an institution has fallen. Toni was a black artist signed to a black-run label with a black production team who developed her into a world-class talent. We rarely see that level of artist development in R&B today, and it is a major component of what is missing in music now. As much as we love R&B, sometimes black artists just want to defy genre altogether. When Darius Rucker emerged on the scene as the frontman of Hootie and the Blowfish, it was a reminder of our long but complicated presence in rock. Now, the analysis on this one would be a bit different because Hootie and the Blowfish is a multicultural group, but Darius' contribution needs its own spotlight. The group released 3 independent EPs before a major label took a risk on them. Their debut album, Crack Rear View, had 3 top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100, namely one of the quintessential 90s songs, Only Wanna Be With You. The album sold 22 million copies. At the Grammys in 1996, they were the only male act in a stacked class. Singer Joan Osborne, future country legend Shania Twain, Alanis Morissette, as she was on a run with Jagged Little Pill, and R&B newcomer Brandy, who was also their label mate. The group continued to release music but never came close to the commercial success of their debut album. Darius released an R&B album in 2002 called Back to Then, but the project was met with little fanfare. He stepped away from the group in 2008 to pursue a career as a country artist, going on to become the first black performer to win New Artist of the Year at the CMAs. He has enjoyed other success in the country genre. So let's frame the question this way. Did Hootie and the Blowfish propel Darius to greater success? It's a complicated answer. He was able to cross over into country, something that probably would have been harder for him to do without the notoriety of the group. However, black artists who find their initial success in genres outside of R&B, hip-hop, or gospel sometimes have difficulties finding a footing in black spaces. His predicament presents a debate that black artists going back to, say, Jimi Hendrix have been struggling with for generations. Another artist who decided to step away from a group was Lauryn Hill. After a memorable performance in Sister Act 2 and an outsized presence in the hip-hop trio The Fugees, she took the music world by storm with her solo debut album, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. The album had a heavy R&B lean, but Lauryn considered it hip-hop music. Her debut single, Doo-Wop That Thing, is the first debut single to debut at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The album also is the first debut album by a female artist to debut at the top of the Billboard 200. The album has been certified diamond, the first by a female rapper, and has sold more than 20 million copies worldwide. At the Grammys held in 1999, her nomination class included superstar boy band The Backstreet Boys, opera icon Andrea Bocelli, and female acts The Dixie Chicks and Natalie Imbruglia. She went on to win Album of the Year that night, making her the third, and at the recording of this video, most recent Black woman to win the honor. You can find out more about that moment by watching our video, Black Women Who Won the Grammys Album of the Year. Overall, she set the then record for the most wins in a night for a female artist, taking home 5 statuettes. So did Lauryn's career live up to the hype? This is one of the most debated topics in modern music. In 2004, it would have been a hard no. In 2014, it would have been a hard no. But in more recent times, the general public discusses music industry politics and mental health in unprecedented ways. The answer is still no, but more nuanced. Lauryn was hit with a lawsuit by her co-collaborators on the album that seems to have rattled her trust, and she has alluded to the industry trying to force her into a box. But Lauryn has done things to complicate matters. Perhaps the first instance was previewing her yet-to-be-released sophomore album in demo form on MTV's Unplugged in 2002. She has marred her reputation with chronic lateness or cancellations of her concerts and uneven performances. Her brash responses to these complaints have alienated even her most loyal fans. Ultimately, she has achieved what many artists aspire to, creating a body of work that is appreciated through the generations. I think the public is beginning to take solace in this fact rather than forcing her to make a new album. Now we get to the 2000s. The internet is changing how we consume music and allowing fans to have an instant opinion. It also threatens the profitability of the music industry and how artists are packaged. Just as everything felt new in the dawn of Y2K, Alicia Keys stormed the scene, giving us the sounds of yesteryear. She was a classically trained pianist raised on the rough side of New York City, who graduated from high school as valedictorian at 16 and abandoned a scholarship at Columbia University to pursue her dreams of being a singer. It was a story Clive Davis expertly knew how to sell, and that he did when she signed to his new label, J Records. Her debut single, Fallen, is solely credited to Alicia, instantly juxtaposing her to the legend of Prince. It reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Her debut album, Songs in A Minor, went on to sell over 12 million copies worldwide. She managed to have her artistry taken seriously while not being pigeonholed in neo-soul, which was becoming slightly stigmatized by this time. Her nomination class included Canadian singer Nelly Furtado, British singer David Gray, rock band Linkin Park, and fellow R&B singer India.Arie. Now, some tension had been brewing in the media for a while about Alicia in India. India, like Alicia, played an instrument and wrote much of her own music, but she didn't have nearly the mainstream traction. India was nominated 7 times that ceremony and completely shut out. Alicia was nominated 6 times and ended the night with 5 awards, including another major category win for Song of the Year. India did not hide her anger about the ceremony and cited industry favoritism as a driving force for Alicia's success. At the time, India was dismissed as sour grapes. Alicia continued to thrive while India's career took a slow downturn. But looking at it years later, I think India might have been the first to reframe the conversation around Alicia. Let's expound as we ask our expected question. Did Alicia's career live up to the hype? To me, she is similar to Toni Braxton in that she had an incredibly hot start, but career malpractice took its toll. So I am going to go with a conditional yes. Working on this video, I have tried not to veer too far into the artist's personal lives, but as I said when opening the 2000s portion, the internet changed things. The correlation between Alicia's controversial relationship and eventual marriage to producer Swizz Beatz and her career cooling down cannot be denied. We are not going to get into the weeds of the situation, but many of her fans saw it as a betrayal. Finding success as a socially conscious artist can be a double-edged sword because the public expects you to uphold a particular standard. Lauryn Hill was plagued by a similar issue when she sang about self-respect but bore children out of wedlock while in a toxic relationship. Unlike Lauryn's situation, Alicia, Swizz, and his ex-wife Mashonda publicly made peace, but the damage was done. Another issue was the direction her voice was taking. It is not clear what caused her voice to change, but indisputably it did, and she did not adapt. Now, Alicia was always more of a vocal stylist. Clive Davis worked with great vocal divas, Dionne Warwick, Aretha Franklin, and of course, Whitney Houston. Alicia was never in this tier, but she had a thing that worked and moved you. And as R&B became a shell of itself, Alicia got lost in the shuffle. Considering the uprisings in the 2010s, you would think that would have been her bag. If someone asked you in 2006 that between her and Beyonce, which one would commercially thrive with a project about social injustice and black female angst in the next 10 years, most people would have picked Alicia. The reasons Alicia could not capitalize on this are complex, but I do think it largely goes back to her damaged public image. Alicia still receives plush opportunities like a Broadway show, body care product line, and nationally televised performances, but something feels unfinished about her music career. Regardless of where things stand with Alicia today, the music industry was scrambling for A-Keys copycats after she blew up. In 2004, critics thought they found her male counterpart, John Legend. Like Alicia, he played piano since childhood and obtained an Ivy League education, graduating from the University of Pennsylvania. His debut album, Get Lifted, was certified 2 times platinum. For the Grammys held in 2006, his nomination class included bands Fall Out Boy, King, and Sugarland, and singer Ciara. His win for Best New Artist marked the first time a black male solo artist won the award. Considering the slew of talented black men to debut since 1959, isn't that crazy? So let's hop right to it. Did John's career live up to its potential? As an artist, it's a draw. He stays working, but he did not reset the R&B landscape like anticipated. Some would argue his biggest hit, All of Me, isn't even R&B. Personally, I would like to see him take a Commodore's-era Lionel Richie approach to his music, but again, he stays working, so I don't think he's really tripping at this point. Now when we reach the 2010s, the internet has added another layer, social media. It completely transforms the way artists can market themselves, even making a record label an afterthought. It seems when the industry goes through a tumultuous change, it falls back on the sounds of yesteryear. Jazz singer and bassist Esperanza Spalding was a bit of solace. Her self-titled 2008 release was actually her second album. It peaked at 138 on the Billboard 200, but she was beloved by critics and music industry giants like Stevie Wonder and Prince. For the Grammys held in 2011, she was the only American act in her nomination class, which included British acts Florence and the Machine and Mumford & Sons, and Canadian acts Justin Bieber and Drake. Esperanza was the shocking win because she had the least mainstream traction. Some even politicized her win, viewing it as retribution for a changing of the guard. Justin and Drake were internet phenoms and built loyal fan bases before signing to a major label because of the power of social media. Whether Esperanza's win was a resistance vote is debatable, but she caught heat for the win, so much so Drake dissed her as recently as 2024. So did Esperanza's career live up to its potential? The answer is yes. Let me explain. I know some of you might say, why did she get a yes when people who sold way more than her didn't? Again, based on the circumstances of being a jazz artist in the 21st century, she has done well. Similar to Tracy Chapman, her work is also a means of preservation. Jazz is uniquely American and rooted in Black American music tradition. Her win reinforced our presence in jazz for a new generation. But the industry couldn't resist change for long. Mixtapes and EPs were now consumed by listeners as albums. In the mid-2010s, Chance the Rapper made waves on the mixtape scene. Raised by Chicago political parents in a middle-class household, he was immediately compared to Kanye West. His fourth mixtape, Coloring Book, contained his breakout hit No Problem. So it was a bit of a shocker when a mixtape release was able to get him a nomination for Best New Artist, let alone a win. At the Grammys held in 2017, his nomination class included DJ duo The Chainsmokers, country singers Kelsea Ballerini and Maren Morris, and R&B singer Anderson .Paak. So did Chance the Rapper's career deliver on the hype? The answer is currently no. He has been a part of some successful collaborations, but he has yet to get things going as a solo artist. Speculation runs rapid as to what the issue might be, with some citing his work on Kanye West's The Life of Pablo as a blow to his confidence. Granted, Chance has a lot of interests outside of music, like politics and fine art, but he is also aware the fans are waiting for him to fulfill his promise. Now for our winners from the 2020s, we are going to adjust our metric because it is too soon to tell if these artists have maximized their potential. But we will look at the circumstances that led to their wins in immediate aftermath. Megan Thee Stallion charged her way onto the music scene via mixtapes. She began to pick up steam with her single Big Ol' Freak, but releasing Savage in 2020, with the explosion of TikTok and the world being at a standstill, will skyrocket her. At the Grammys held in 2021, her nomination class included DJ Kaytranada, singers Ingrid Andress, Phoebe Bridgers, and Noah Cyrus, and rappers Sheikah, D-Smoke, and Doja Cat. She was the first female rapper since Lauryn Hill to win Best New Artist, but notably, she strictly raps. Megan continues to do well, although some argue her songs do not stick for an artist with her level of exposure. Nevertheless, she was instrumental in ushering in a new era of Southern female rap. Samara Joy did what many didn't think could be done, make Gen Z take an interest in jazz. She herself did not become interested in singing jazz until college, but when she started, her craft harkened back to the days of Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald. At the Grammys held in 2023, her nomination class included bands Domi and J.D. Beck, Main Skin, and Wet Leg, singers Anita, Omar Apollo, Money Long, and Molly Tuttle, and rappers Lotto and Toby Wigway. Although Samara was a surprising win, it sparked a lot of excitement because it felt timeless yet fresh. There were those who felt she was too obscure to win, and it was an argument used by the likes of Fat Joe. I think Samara is someone we should be rooting for because the image of black female artists has gotten skewed. She is a class act in upholding our tradition in jazz. Victoria Monet endured a slow but intentional grind to the mainstream. She wrote for a long list of artists, namely Ariana Grande, and released 6 EPs before dropping her debut album Jaguar 2. At the Grammys held in 2024, her nomination class included acts Gracie Abrams, Fred Again, Ice Spice, Jelly Roll, Coco Jones, Noah Kahan, and The War and Treaty. Her win was emblematic of how much the meaning of a new artist has evolved, but indeed the previous year was a breakthrough for Victoria. She is helping to fill the avant-garde pop R&B dance void that is reminiscent of Janet Jackson while embracing her Southern roots. Best New Artist is possibly the most complicated award given by the Grammys, but it is not shrouded in controversy like Album of the Year. While Album of the Year seems to cement the legacy of an album, Best New Artist places an incredible pressure on the winners, but so many factors within and out of their control shape the course of their careers. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for being a part of this episode. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Visit our Substack at blackamericana.substack.com and be sure to sign up for our newsletter. And if you're interested in our apparel as seen here, be sure to check out our YouTube store down below. See you soon.